The story begins with Jack Nelson recounting the scariest experience he's ever had when he was 24 years old only. This is during 2002, making this incident to be roughly 21 years ago. He had a small job as a park ranger in the state park, being hired as a fire lookout in the largest forests in the Pacific Northwest, with a salary to simply make ends meet and not much of anything else. Jack's biggest accomplishment, as he recounts, was to buy an RV with financial support from his father. On one occasion when it all begins, his outpost changes to another because of some official circumstance, which wasn't much of hassle to him since he lived in his RV, being only 2 hours of drive. Mitch Scott, the overseeing ranger in Ironbark area, sends instructions to Jack about how to get to the tower, being tower number 11, which would be roughly 2 hours walk from the nearest parking lot. Worried that Jack might be another flake having this job as a gig, Jack explains he enjoys the solitary life and enjoys being in a tower all on his own than the city. It seems that the official circumstance of someone being needed to go to tower number 11 was because the last ranger somehow left the job without much explanation. Jack's sister Kayla, on the other hand, has a job in the city, explaining how working with bad managers and people is a hassle, and she prefers to be working in a solitary environment in the nature just like Jack. In the lines of their conversation, it's revealed the tower is deep into the forest after Roseburg, the nearest town, which is very small. On his way, he makes a quick stop at the Twin River Diner in order to fuel up his energy before going to the tower, since he has some time. After a nice meal, he speaks to some locals who talk about some missing kids in the area, warning him about it, but not actually explaining much of what happened, and especially the rumors that have been widespread. Jack, trying to dismiss it, excited to start his new job. After a nice meal, he reaches the Ironbark State Park, meeting a jumpy Billy with his rifle in hand, not revealing what has been keeping him at his feet, being so scared. He hands Jack a flashlight and the keys to the tower assigned to him, warning him not to wander off too far north from the tower and to be careful as he's got a long hike to the tower. After roughly 3 hours of walking in the night, Jack finally reaches tower number 11 after 11 o'clock in the night, climbing up and unpacking, ready for a long shift all on his own and hopefully with not much out of the ordinary. Getting a hang of things in the tower, he soon receives a call from tower number 12, with the ranger being called Connor Hawkins. Connor is a nice enough guy, showing his support for the newcomer Jack is and giving him a warm welcome, instructing him what he needs to do before signing out every night. After running some errands, bidding Connor a good night, Jack turns off the lights and heads to bed when all of a sudden he's awakened by an interference on the radio at 3 a.m. Trying to figure out what this interference is, nothing gets through, which starts giving Jack a strange feeling. Going out to check if anyone's out there, he sees someone with a flashlight before he turns off, which he dismisses as a camper going back to bed. Starting the new day in the watchtower, being his home for the next few months, he looks out into the distance, enjoying the beautiful golden sunset, feeling as if this is the life that he wants to live, out in the beautiful quiet wilderness with a fantastic view, reaching out to the horizon with a range of mountains, trees, lakes, and soothing howls and sounds of animals and the wind. That's when this peace and quiet has come to an unwelcome stop when Connor from tower number 12 reports that a group of campers have broken into a non-camping area, having started a fire with smoke going up high. As this is the closest to tower number 11 to Jack, Connor asks him to check on them and inform them to leave. Despite being closest to this area, Jack is a few miles away, which means hiking for a while. As he hikes to the no camping area where the rebellious campers are, who seem to not care about rules and safekeeping the forest, the sun fully sets with the sky being pitch black. Finally reaching the camp, there's no sign of the rule-breaking campers, not being a comforting situation, especially as Jack heard a scream not long ago. Exploring the site with everything left as if recently set up, a bonfire, a tent, and a flashlight even left on, Jack gets a sense of impending doom, with his skin becoming numb, calling out to anyone who might be around, with nothing but the crickets and the howl of the wind responding back. Jack, unsure to whether wanting to actually figure out what's going on or not, he heads back to the tower to report to Connor. Reaching the tower, Connor explains that 3 kids went missing a month ago in the area, with many campers flocking the area to find out if the rumors of supernatural entities snatching them are true or not. It seems like the kids disappeared with no trace whatsoever, which made their story even more widespread, with everyone hearing about them. Soon enough, Connor and Jack bid each other goodnight and sign off, with Jack closing all the shutters and going to bed. After a few hours of uninterrupted rest, he is awakened by what he could only describe as melodic whistle sounds by someone, as if a person was outside the cabin of the watchtower, trying to force his way in. Filled with fear and shivers running down his spine, Jack awakens to see the shadow of someone with a face mask standing outside the cabin, as if watching Jack sleep. Fearful to what might be waiting for him outside, he takes the bear repellent spray and opens the door to see a deer skull with satanic symbolism left outside, decorated with candles, as if someone has been doing a ritual outside. Horrified that someone is out there watching him, not having the best of intentions, Jack contacts Connor, who informs him there's not much he can do for him now in the dark, and the best he can do is sending someone over tomorrow to check on him, saying that it's just some kids pulling a prank on him and he's being too dramatic about the whole ordeal. Jack, powerless to any of this, gets back to bed, locking the door, hoping that nothing bad would happen, especially as a flimsy locked door wouldn't do him any good, since he's surrounded by windows all over. Getting barely any shut-eye, Jack embarks his new day, being very wary and cautious, paranoid that something sinister hides within these woods. Being on the lookout, looking around the forest from the tower, Jack sees a flare going up, soon followed with a hiker reaching his frequency, asking for help, being lost. As Jack directs the lost hiker to find the main trail to get back to his truck, the hiker goes silent for a while before gleefully saying that he's seeing him. Seeing Jack, who came to his rescue, which catches Jack off guard, explaining that is not him. The hiker then asks who else could it be, standing behind the trees whistling, when the communication is cut short with a series of knocks making Jack jump, coming from the door of his cabin. He carefully goes to his door, unsure to what might be standing on the other side, when he is relieved to see a ranger holding his supplies for the coming days. Bidding each other farewell as the ranger goes back on his way to get back to his own cabin, Jack goes down to fetch some firewood when he gets jump scared by someone who refers to him as Silas, saying that he does the maintenance for the radio tower on Sundays, being very strange and creepy, talking about natural disasters which are necessary to cleanse the population. Jack, getting the creeps from him rightfully, bids him farewell, going back to his tower to sleep the night away, hopefully without any more disturbance, as all the recent incidents have been making him feel differently about solitude and vast wilderness. Back in the cabin, Connor, worried about Jack, contacts him, asking where he's been, as he's been trying to reach him for a while. Jack explains he was stopped by Silas, the radio tower maintenance guy, which confuses Connor as he doesn't know anyone by that name, and he explains the radio tower has been out of service for a long time now, for many years, with no one being assigned to maintain it since then. Connor, yet again, makes light of the situation, saying that it's probably another prankster, but nonetheless, it is extremely forbidden to pose as a staff member, and next time around, Jack should take his photo so the authorities can deal with him. Despite being scared and on the edge, Jack tries to dismiss all the past mishaps, going to bed, with the next 2 days not being of any significance, trying really hard to accustom himself to the new living environment. 2 nights later, with Connor still referring to Jack as the new guy, which is starting to get boring and irritating, he explains their systems are getting a new update to make communication and reporting much easier. That's when all of a sudden there's a power cut from the generator, with Jack going down to check on it. It turns out the generator ran out of fuel, hence why it stopped working, or supposedly. Jack could swear that he just refueled the generator, and it's really strange that it emptied on its own so quickly. Refueling the generator, he goes back up, spending the night away, sleeping. With nothing major happening and the whistling man incidents being a thing of the past, an unsolved case with Jack dismissing them possibly as pranks, he starts to let his guard down, being more comfortable in the watchtower. Few weeks pass and Connor starts calling Jack actually by his name now. For the past 2 days, Connor's generator becomes faulty and requires maintenance, which means Jack has to cover his area as well, only communicating with him twice a day. Connor asks Jack to check on another fire coming from a nearby area to tower number 11, with Connor signing off early as he's been working on his generator day and night, taking all of his energy. As Jack uses his binoculars to check on the smoke, he zooms in, not believing what he's seeing. A group of people with strange masks and hoodies, burning something on a wooden bed, as if performing some sort of sacrilege ritual. He uses his camera to snap a photo for evidence, so maybe this time around people would believe him. But unfortunately, as he does so, he forgets that he had left his flash on, getting the attention of the perpetrators. That causes them to rush towards his tower, trying to get rid of any evidence of their existence. Trembling in fear to what might happen to him, Jack quickly goes to the cabin and locks the door, taking cover under his bed in order to hide away from them. It doesn't take long before one of the masked individuals breaks into the cabin looking for him, not being able to find him. As soon as the perpetrator leaves the cabin, Jack, with the energy and will he didn't know that he has, runs the long path back to the entry to the park without looking at his back, leaving everything behind. As soon as he reaches his RV, he presses on the gas as hard as he can, going to the nearest ranger cabin. When he contacts the headquarters and reports on what he saw, of course the overseeing officer, Mitch, doesn't believe a word he says, dismissing it as hallucinations due to the isolation, telling him to just do his job and look out for fires. But of course Jack never returns to the same woods anymore, starting to understand why the last ranger left without any explanation. That also explains who this person who called himself Silas was, and also why the generator ran out of fuel so quickly, which means that these people probably stole the fuel to do the rituals. 21 years later and counting, Jack explains this traumatic event never left his mind and he is still shaken by the thoughts and the experience, scared to set foot in woods and especially the Ironbark Park State. Despite explaining this to his family and friends, no one ever believes him, which makes it even worse for him to ever move on and find some sort of resolution left with the trauma and terror that he experienced. That's it for this video, folks. It's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.